in between lifetimes, you are helping and you are participating in your own soul's growth, but you're also helping others. You're helping to bring about inventions. You're helping to create hopefully a sustainable world if we humans can freaking pay attention and do something about it. So, and in between lifetimes, you're healing traumas that you've experienced, unresolved issues. Hi, welcome to Intuition, Your Success Company. Vicki, thank you for joining me. Today's topic is going to be a lot of fun. I figured it was about time we did one on energy and the soul and connecting and all of that. And this comes in from a listener question. Thank you, Laurie, for submitting it, because she wants to know what happens to, for, and with us between lifetimes, between physical lifetimes. Is what I'll put in there. And I thought, this is a fun topic. Let's do this. Break up some of the, sometimes the life coaching can feel like, well, what are my skills this week? What are we doing this week? What are we working on? What are we learning? It's kind of like I read like futuristic cop and true crime and all that kind of stuff to relax. So this because sometimes the life coaching and sometimes the betterment of feels like it's just too much. So I thought, you know what? We have not done a fun topic. Although I want on these, this can be something that we look for our soul level as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about, and this is my perspective. This is what I've learned from those who have crossed. This is what I know to be true for my soul. So take what resonates throughout the rest. What I have seen is the experience of the eternal soul, meaning our physical bodies will be here for whatever period of time they're here. And then the soul itself will continue to go on and on. It is not a forever and ever thing. I believe, much like the Buddhist and the Hindu tradition and religions believe, that there is reincarnation, that we come back lifetime after lifetime. But the ultimate goal is to arrive in that place of self-acceptance, of knowing, and somewhat of a freeing from having to come back into physical form over and over again. And I often joked, although I'm really serious about it on some level, that I want to learn as much in this lifetime so that my subsequent human lifetime can diminish in numbers. And then I can go on to help others, much like our spirit guides help us now. So I know that this is true, that we have a physical incarnation, which we're learning how to love, how to connect, how to remember our true essence as all being connected and all contributing to the one. I don't believe we're all one being, but I do believe that we contribute to a whole, that's important. A whole, WHOLE. Just realized I didn't have my microphone in front of me. So that's going to change the sound quality a little. So each lifetime we come in with this desire to learn something and to build on what we've learned in previous lifetimes. So maybe in this lifetime, you wanted to learn how to be independent, and you came in with a kind of a stubborn streak or a need to learn and do everything yourself, because in previous lifetimes, perhaps you were too dependent, or maybe you were taken care of and you wanted to feel the expansion of being able to depend on self. So in this lifetime, maybe relationships have been difficult for you, or you haven't been able to find that life partner. And some of it is because of the independence. It doesn't mean, or the desire to learn independence, rather. It doesn't mean that you couldn't be in a very loving, supportive, and still maintain your own independent relationship. It's just that you have to learn a little bit about it. So in between each lifetime, we have the ability to grow and to learn in the non-physical. I believe that some people actually do more learning and growing when they're non-physical than when they're physical, because the counter pressure or the resistance or the challenge of being human may be too much. So it's a slower path of learning. And then when they're non-physical and not dealing with the everyday, they, make great advances. However, we can all grow and learn in between lifetimes. The most exponential growth is done in physical form, because we do have these other experiences, relationships. Heck, what's for dinner can be some of the greatest challenges we got going. Sometimes making that decision every day, although it is a gift to be able to make that decision every day. So the between lifetimes, physical lifetimes, what you're doing is you're learning from previous lifetimes, and you are experiencing what other people experienced, or beings, sentient beings, maybe had animals or something, experienced as a result of your conscious actions. So don't worry too much about the stuff that happened when you didn't know something, but like you didn't know how to be nice to someone, or you didn't know that the way you were talking was ignorant. Don't worry about that, because that's not the kind of stuff that gets weighted for learning in the non-physical self. What gets weighted are the conscious choices you made when you were rude to that person, when you cut them off in traffic, when you didn't call someone back even though you knew they were waiting for your call. Stuff adds up, man. So that's why I just decided to be very present and to respond to things as necessary and to have really good boundaries, because then you don't set up stuff that you don't want to do anyway, and you don't set up the non-response thing. Because when you croak, and all of us are going to croak, everyone's going to kick the bucket. We need to stop feeling bad about this. You can miss them, you can hurt, you can be sad, and yes, of course, you can have your whole process. Honestly, let's start being very clear about this. Everybody is going to croak. None of us are getting out of this in a physical, ongoing, forever form. So lighten up. It's a gift, it's an honor, and it should be seen as a graduation when somebody passes. That congratulations, you completed your contract, you're moving on to the next space. Not to be cavalier and not to negate the pain that goes with that as being the human who's here. But if we don't lighten up about this, y'all are going to have some rude awakenings when it comes to be your turn. And I want everybody to have a really cool. My uncle went out the way I say everybody can go out, with a remote in his hand, having just had a wonderful Chinese food meal and visiting with his buddy. That's how he passed. We all have that ability to be Uncle Eddie, okay? Or whatever the food is of your choice. But once you croak, you do get a life review. And the vision I have of it for me is sitting in one of those really comfy theater chairs, the one that feet go up, they're squishy, they have a cup holder. And of course, you have popcorn and everything. And I'm watching my life review. I want to get there and say, you did pretty well, Vic. You did pretty well. You did the best you could with what you had at each moment. You loved, you had fun, you enjoyed things. That's my intention. But when you're watching this life review, you will experience the feelings that other people felt as a result of your direct actions. So it keeps me on the straight and narrow. That's why I am blunt with people, and I let them know when something's not going to work for me, or when I don't appreciate something, because I don't want ambiguity to be a problem in this lifetime with me. And if I don't respond well, I will apologize and then say, oh, this is what I really meant. I wasn't clear at the time and I'm sorry. But I want to get to that croaking place, not to laud myself or to be like, ooh, I'm so amazing, but because I want to be rather bored. I want to be watching it thinking, oh, that was fun. Oh, I remember that. And to have more of the loving memories be there than the oof. I messed that one up, didn't I? So, because they'll be part of the life review too. What was loving? What was most touching? And then, yeah, what could you still work on in this lifetime? The lifetime between lives is it's difficult sometimes, I think, to wrap our heads around because it doesn't have a time format. So, for instance, my late husband passed 8 years ago. Just the anniversary was just a couple weeks ago of his croakerversary, I call it. And 8 years blows my mind. It's gone that fast. And yet I know because of the mediumship work I did, for him, it's felt like 15 minutes. So it's not like when you're in the non-physical that you're, looking at the clock. That's a man-made 24-hour Gregorian calendar kind of thing. In the non-physical, and no, I don't understand the science around it. It has something to do with light travel and bending of light speeds and all that. I'm not Sheldon. I do not get all of that. What I know is that so many souls have come through and been like, will you please tell them that it's not painful, that it's been 8 years and now they're wasting freaking 8 years of their life worrying that I miss them this much. They don't miss us that much. Burst your bubble here, okay? I do believe that there is a level of love that makes them want and makes us, because we'll be there too, want to check in and want to visit. And that's why a session with a really good medium can be so cathartic. But they aren't missing you. They're busy with their own life. And if a medium gives you a message that they're with you 24/7, they love you so much they never leave your side, that medium is lying to you. Or they're reading at a level of fear instead of the level of love, because that's not the case. It's very busy for us in the non-physical. We will still contribute. I remember one time after my mom passed and I realized that I could do this and I actually got her on the line. It's a little harder with your own loved ones because you have to go through the grief process yourself. But I got her on the line and I said, oh, I just want to know what you're doing. Like, I want to know how you're spending your time. I want to know, after raising 8 kids and several grandchildren and daycare and all that kind of stuff, I want to know that you are living it up, woman. I want to know that your soul is having fun. But it turned out that she was receiving the babies and the toddlers and stuff that passed at those ages. So essentially, she was working in the soul nursery. And I said, are you kidding me? After all the babies you fed, raised, diapered, all that. Well, you don't have to do that on the other side. So I guess that's easier, just to be with them in love. That's what you're doing. And, it was a very humbling message because, I wanted my mom to have something that she experienced outside the house for herself, outside of being a mom, outside of being a nanny. And she said, well, this is what I love and this is what I'm good at. And I'm like, oh, well, good for you. Because I know my mother loved me. I have no doubt that my mother loved me. But she was not attentive. Not one that I would say was in there with all the ooey gooey. So that to me affirmed that she was also learning, and she was probably learning it was okay to show vulnerability and to love. And that, it just tickled me. It just tickled me. So everyone will participate. When 9/11 happened, I wasn't quite savvy with the whole intuitive stuff. I didn't know I was picking up on stuff. I called my boss a terrorist. I left work. I said, I got to get out of this building. I can't be trapped in this building. I walked away. Then it was only after I found out what was going on that I was like, oh, this was one of those things that happens to me where I didn't know at the time why I was picking up things. And it was all the souls that were reaching out. I was feeling all of them pass. And, we didn't have Wi-Fi in those days. I didn't know what was going on outside of Lenoxdale. So once I found that out, I remember watching the news that night thinking, oh my goodness, this is what was going on. I was getting all this information, but what I also got to experience was all of this spirit activity that was happening. And and souls that had lived their experiences as doctors or nurses, first responders, medvac people, the medevac, not medvac, for things, medevac people, those that in the service who had passed with that cellular knowledge were coming in to not take over the bodies, but lend a little information. So that's an example of things that souls in between physical lifetimes are helping with. So there really are helpers everywhere, angels and helpers everywhere. Those who cross as a human are not angels. Two different frequencies. So between lifetimes, it's a combination of learning and being in community and then being able to help whenever there's a tragedy. Like we've had recently, so many people passing, and it feels like it's going to keep happening because there's a large number of souls who agreed before they got here in physical form to be influencers, not the kind that are going to sell you the next packable, to be the influencers that raise the frequency of the earth. And then those of us who are still here physically need to actually carry that out and do the work and become more conscious and pay attention to how we can do things differently in this lifetime. So between lifetimes, you're going to be busy. You're not going to be hovering over your loved ones. You'll pop in, you'll see them, you'll change the channel on the TV. Heck, by that point, we'll probably have hovercrafts and everything, and you'll be able to pop in next to you. So it is possible, and it is very likely that anyone that you have known that has passed has visited you and has been part of your day-to-day, but they are not there 24/7 because their soul is important, just like your soul is important. None of us are here for the greater good before we are here for our soul first, and then to help the greater good. And then that then helps our soul. So get good with your soul's process and get good with the fact that you'll have other lifetimes. Whenever I see or hear an ad or something where they say, you only have one lifetime, I'm like, you only have this lifetime you're living, and then you go on to live others. I have not seen any evidence where we're living parallel universes, and maybe that's beyond my capability. But after tens of thousands of readings, I've not seen that. And I feel that in the continuum of things that's just not likely anyway. This is where we all get to have our own perspective, right? So in between lifetimes, you're understanding the opportunities you've had, maybe something that you passed on and didn't do. In the next lifetime, you'll do more of that. And most of it being the focus on soul growth, because once we understand love and that really is the key to everything, and once we activate ourselves and we live in a world, our own world, where that's the primary intention, still means you have, I feel like I have to give this every time I say that, but every time I say love is the primary intention for being here and raising the vibration of your soul and understanding, that means having boundaries. That means saying no, thank you. That does not mean be something that someone walks all over. So in between these lifetimes, you are helping and you are participating in your own soul's growth, but you're also helping others. You're helping to bring about inventions. You're helping to create hopefully a sustainable world if we humans can freaking pay attention and do something about it. So, and in between lifetimes, you're healing traumas that you've experienced, unresolved issues. I remember this gentleman I was working with, and he said to me in all seriousness that he was going to leave my office and take his life. I'm not a therapist. I am not. And I let him know that. And then I asked him what his plan was, what was happening. And then I said, well, seems like I have nothing to lose here. I am going to tell you what happens should you decide to do that. And I communicated that, listen, each lifetime has a template. Each physical lifetime has a template. that we agree to. It's loose. You can move it around. You can decide to do different things. I said, but if you opt out of that template early, you will not only repeat this lifetime experiences, they will be amplified to think AP classes. They will be amplified to help your soul grow faster because you opted out of a lifetime that probably had more decades. I said, and you are not going to get a free pass on this. And you will return to physical form much sooner because you opted out of your contract. There's no judgment. There's no punishment. There's only love for you that you will be received in that way. So you choose. I said, but I'm going to ask you, would you rather look at these challenges that you have now and figure out a way, and I can help you with a therapist, and I can help you get the help you need right now, where you can figure out a way to enhance this lifetime and not have to go into the non-physical and decide to come back really soon, because your physical head, your human head is going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. But I promise you, when you get there, your soul's going to say, I did not complete what I set out to do in the previous lifetime. I have to go back now. I have to go back soon. And he looked at me and he's like, seriously? I said, I would not tell you this simply to have you not take your life. It would be very sad for me if you took your life, but it would still be your choice and I would honor that. And knowing, well, I guess he didn't know at the time, but he believed and he trusted enough that he didn't want to do this at an amplified rate. He wanted to get the skills. And yes, due diligence, I got him, canceled the rest of my appointments for that day, and took him to the hospital. And the last time I checked in with him, it's been a couple of years, he was doing really well and made a commitment to be present in his life, because the idea of, what did he call it? I think he called it a boomerang. The idea of doing a boomerang lifetime was not, he didn't like that. And what I said to him is, this is the beauty of free will, because our life events are not predestined. They aren't. When you come in and when you go out, I think are pretty close, but you can shift that with how you live your life or how you live your life. But there's a rough template, meaning you will line up with soul groups. You will meet up with people that you've traveled with before, but there's not predestined you have to go through this. And when people say that I had to go through this, it was written, I don't agree with it. I do not agree with that. You, yes, will have to line up with experiences that you can learn from, and that will happen. And you will meet some resistance, because this is life. And there are some resistance and some challenges, and that's how we learn and grow. There's not a full plan of he had to go through this in order for him to learn that. He did have to learn. So he was going to go through something, but not necessarily, something so catastrophic. We never sign up for abuse. That is not a predestined. That's somebody else acting like an ass and creating an abusive environment for us. But we can shift that happening again. When my father he was in later stages of Alzheimer's, and he had a moment of clarity. I said, listen to me, we will not do this in the next lifetime, because I am going to do all the healing I need to do in this lifetime. And I am not choosing you as my father. We will not do this again. Am I clear? And he looked at me, and he had beautiful blue eyes, and he said, very clear, we will not do this again. And I said, thank you. So in the next lifetime, will I have to learn to tell somebody that's not okay? You're not allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to raise fist against me or anything like that? Maybe. But I'm hoping I've done enough in this lifetime that the next lifetime, no fool is even going to try. So I did need to learn to stand up for myself in this lifetime. I will say, once I was 15 and I stood up to my father, that was the end of the beatings, because I said to him, I will hit you back. I will hit you back. And I must have been convincing enough. I've been told I'm pretty terrifying once I get mad enough, because I get very on him. and just let you know no further. So embracing the free will around life, and that's what the gentleman that I was talking about did. He embraced a free will. He had a choice. He could have still decided to end his contract and leave his body, but he embraced free will to figure out what was causing, what trauma in this lifetime was causing the pain he had, so that he could work through it and be on the other side of it and feel really good about himself. He would have done that work in the non-physical, but I know there to be an enhanced pride and joy about being able to do it in the physical life. And that's partly like living with purpose, and the purpose of understanding yourself, the purpose of engaging and reflecting on what is joy in life. Because your soul, when it's in between physical lifetimes, is in full joy mode. Excuse me. It's in full love to be here, love to be part of life, so lit up. It's just so excited to experience everything, to learn, to not know something so that it can expand to know something. And I actually believe that's one of the things we're striving for as physical beings, is to arrive in a place where we feel that joy of learning, of expansion, of not knowing in order to know. So being connected with ourselves between lifetimes, having fun about this whole human experience, I feel like does come back lifetime after lifetime. And that's why you can see people who just absolutely thrive in their life. They love what they're doing because in some previous lifetime, they did the work. So if you're having a challenge with your life right now, do the work. Do the work. If nothing else, to pay off for later. Oftentimes when I'm going through something, I'll be like, okay, my future self is really going to thank me for this. My future self is going to appreciate that I didn't just pass it by or bury it or ignore it. My future self and my between lifetime, physical lifetime self is going to high five me for this. This is going to be exciting. Sometimes that motivates me, I'll be honest, to look at the trauma, to experience the growth, and to dig deep. There's really not much else in there for me to dig deep on. Now it's about expanding on that and having fun with it. So, and understanding that you have a lifetime between physical lifetimes can help you live with purpose, with a joy, making the best salad. Tonight, I plan on having salmon on my salad, and I'm excited about it. And some would say, oh, Vicki, that has no bearing other than good omega-3s. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I took that out of the freezer this morning. I have been looking forward to that all day, and I still have about 5 more hours before dinner, and I am so excited about it. That's living with purpose. That's living on purpose. It doesn't have to be humongous that I have to go out into the world and do. That energy goes out exponentially, whether I tell you about it or not. Because by the time you listen to this, I will have eaten my dinner and sent the energy out. And when you're doing that, you're creating a vibration and a higher frequency for the world, for everybody to live in. And that's also what you do between lifetimes. You share, you figure it out, and you grow, you expand because it's fun to do. And yeah, you practice a little bit of letting go, but we can do that this lifetime too. And you create a harmonious relationship between your physical self and your non-physical self. And I'm so grateful that I had to look at all of this stuff for myself, because it was very painful for me to be so intuitive, to be so open. I had to go into study around this so that I didn't lose my marbles. Look a little concerned there for a little bit, because it's also given me the insight to know that this joy of living is possible to us in a non-physical self and a physical self. There is no hell. All right. I know that there are certainly different religious religions and belief systems and dogma and doctrines and all that say there is. Again, tens of thousands of sessions, even from the most religious souls here on physical, when they came through to their family members in the non-physical, they were often my most joyous communications, because they would be like, guess what's wrong? Guess what's not true about that? Isn't it amazing that I now know it's not true? There was no judgment there. It was just, listen, there is no hell. There is none except the crap that people are trying to feed you, that there is to try to control you so that you behave in a way that they want you to behave. So I firmly believe everyone is entitled to their beliefs, and that's part of their soul's journey to understand. And I love the fact that the people that are the most dogmatic about it are going to get this gift too. They will be received in such love, because often the ones that are talking about hell and all of that are the ones that are judging themselves so harshly. And I don't want that for anyone. So one of the messages that comes through so much is that there is no heaven or hell sorting. Everybody goes to the same place. When I used to do galleries and stuff, what I would say to people is, I see it like this amazing hotel, and we are all going to the same hotel. It's humongous and can fit all the souls. But there are different levels of rooms within this hotel. And some people will be in the rooms that are very light filled and that are joyous and that are, have the best flowers, whatever works for them, whatever their heaven is, idea of heaven is. And other people, because of their actions and what they need to learn, may have the room by the pool and they may be smelling chlorine all night. So everybody has the ability to meet in the elevator, on the escalator. Everybody has the ability to travel up these different frequencies within this hotel simply by deciding that they're going to learn about themselves and to grow and to understand why they would have made the decisions or done the actions that they did in the first place. But everybody is received with love. Everybody is received with a feeling of gratitude for having made the journey or been part of the experience. No one crosses alone. And the process is one that is incredibly quick. There is an in-between energy that sometimes those that have traumatic deaths or have doubted the fact that they would be received in love, which is why we need to love more here. So it's a foregone conclusion that they would be received in love when they pass. Part of there is a place where a soul could become earthbound, meaning their body physically passed, but their soul is caught in this kind of Groundhog Day thing where it just repeats until someone either comes along and shows it so much love that they end up crossing, or there's a decision on the soul's part that they are complete with being scared to cross. And yes, it's sad. Yes, as a medium, anytime I feel that, I will take the time to help someone cross, because I don't want anybody feeling lost and scared. That is a very small percentage. Couldn't even fathom to guess that, of souls that end up happening there, end up being there. And eventually everyone makes it. But if you go into it with a belief that this is pretty cool, I'm going to do my crossing now. That's why people say they want to go home. If you've ever been blessed enough to be with someone who's crossing and they're like, I want to go home, because there's a remembrance of that place. There's a remembrance of that frequency. We have the access to that much love when we're here physically within us, and to share that. And I wish that for you. I want that for you before you croak. So, Laurie, I hope this answers your question, and I hope it addresses me. Maybe you didn't know you had these questions. Send some more. I'm happy to do and to share from what I know. and to bring the experts on if I don't know about a subject. So thank you very much. Vicki Baird coaching on all the coaching sites, and I wish you all the best. Take care. See you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.